Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I sit in front of my computer and I am going to be telling you what each and every week for December will be giving us. So if you're new today, here's what I'm doing. I sit in front of my computer, I look day to day, looking at all the planetary aspects per day. And I always relate them to where the moon is, because the moon in astrology, Vedic astrology particularly, is the most important planet because it really does direct the emotional changes that go on in a world. So because when I'm looking at where the planets are transiting in the heavens, and I don't have a time because I'm basing this from day to day at different times, I make the moon like the ascendant. And it's how all the other planets are placed from the moon. Now we even do this when we're looking at birth charts. That's how important the moon is. So right now, I'm about to give you my dissertation for the week of December 1st through the 7th. But before I get going, I have a few announcements that you're going to want to hear about. Well, the first thing is, if you haven't signed up for my free newsletter, you're going to want to do it because I'm giving you all of these predictions written out, delivered to your email address free every week. But on top of that, I have my prediction day, which I do once a year, and it is an all-day workshop, December 14th, if you want to hear my predictions for 2025. And it starts December 14th, 12:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And that's another thing. Everything that I'm doing here is Central Standard Time. I'll remind you of that in just a minute. But here's my point. We go sometimes for 6 hours on that prediction for the year. So this will be month by month, everything that I predict for the year of 2025. Yes, it's live. It's a Zoom call. You can ask me questions. We will all be together and we're going to hear what this year is going to bring based on leaders' charts, countries' charts, and the cycles. So you won't want to miss that. Go to galacticcenter.org. Sign up for my free newsletter. That is where you can purchase my all-day workshop, as well as sign up for my Patreon page and become part of our community, where I meet with you weekly and we talk about all things spiritual and astrology. So with that, let me dig in here and tell you what the first week of December is going to be about. Now, I am going to be focusing this on day by day central time zone. So if you're in, let's say you're in Europe and you're 6 hours, 7 hours difference than central time zone, then you know everything I'm talking about happened 7 hours before. It's later in going towards Europe. And if you're on the other side of the world in Australia, yes, it's the next day. Figure out the time zone from Central and you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to announce each day, and this is Central Time. One last thing, if you want your own personal predictions for your own birth chart, so everything that I'm doing here, but it's about you and what's going on in your personal birth chart, you're going to want to get my Galactic Planner. My Galactic Planner does exactly that, and it gives you all your predictions, and they are delivered to your calendar on your phone or on your computer, so you can be prepared every day in accordance to what the planets are telling you. So let me get going here. We're going to start with December 1st, and remember, this is Central Time Zone. So on this day, December 1st, we have the new moon. The new moon is where the sun and the moon come together. But what is very interesting about this new moon, and I've been talking about this new moon already, it is exactly conjunct the fixed star Antares. You probably heard of that the fixed star Antares. It is 15 degrees of Scorpio. And this is the star of war. And of course, it is a very powerful star. So you're going to want to look and find what's going on this day, because this is the new moon at this degree mark. So it's a powerful day. The new moon represents new beginnings. And looking at the moon and where Venus is today, Venus sits at 29 degrees. So this is like, it's about to change signs. Venus is at the last degree of Sagittarius. So this is all about truth finding. It's all about wealth and money. And the fact that Venus sits in the second house from the moon, then this is a good day for spending and buying luxury items. Now Saturn sits in the fourth house from the moon, so you're not going to want to go very many places probably. You want to stay home. But it's not that it's a bad day at all for travel. It's just that you want to stay grounded and rooted today. That's what I'm seeing. And where I'm looking at where Jupiter is in the opposition from this new moon, which is fabulous. And Jupiter is in Taurus, and it's in the nakshatra Rohini. Rohini is a nakshatra that deals with wealth and prosperity. Now going back to this moon sits actually, let me make sure of this because I want to pull up my time change tool here. Yes, so this new moon sits at 15 degrees of Scorpio, which means it is in the nakshatra Anuradha. Anuradha is a nakshatra that deals with friendship, kindness, giving over to others, being generous, in other words. But let me just say this, with Jupiter being in the opposite placement from the moon today, it is a great time to spend time with your loved ones, especially your partner. And if you don't have a partner and you're dating, it is a great day to go out, spend time meeting new people, fall in love. This is like Jupiter in Taurus opposed the moon. This is a fantastic day for love. I know I said Antares is the star of war. It is a powerful star. On the global front, there could be some outbreaks of war or beginnings of things, but this is a good day for love and romance. Truly it is. And even Rahu is aspecting the moon, which means this is a day of action and things are coming together. Mercury is still retrograde for a while, and Mercury retrograde, and while it's opposing Jupiter, can cause some setbacks in travel. But once you get to your destination, you're fine. You will love your travels. So let me take it to the next day, which is December 2nd, and the moon is in Sagittarius today, and it is in the nakshatra called Mula. And when I say Mula, I don't mean money. Mula is the nakshatra that can deal with destruction. And with the sun being behind the moon, it's like we're still getting on to trying to feel our footing onto solid ground. And with Mars is the planet that deals with upsets and anger. Mars this day, and Mars is going to be in Cancer for a long time, which is ruled by the moon. But let me just say this, that Mars is slowing down this whole week. It's about to turn retrograde on the 6th, but we're talking about the 2nd today. And Mars is in the 8th house, so be aware there can be some deep, dark things that come up in your mind. Please try to be a little bit more positive, but this is going to take you down the tunnel where you're thinking scary thoughts. Don't worry, it's not scary, but things are going to start getting hyped up here as Mars slows down to turn retrograde. Okay, so moving forward to December 3rd. On December 3rd, the moon is still in the sign of Sagittarius, but now it's in the nakshatra called Purva Ashada. And Purva Ashada is like, the symbol is fans, that's fanning the wind. It's like, it's spreading information, spreading knowledge. And Sagittarius is a sign of knowledge and learning and truth finding. So the moon being here represents finding the truth. Now Venus is in the second house from the moon the whole time that the moon is in Sagittarius. And that represents it's a good time for buying expensive items. Even though Mercury's retrograde, be careful. I find many times when I buy things when Mercury's retrograde, not all the time, but sometimes I end up taking them back. It's just not a time to go shopping. But with Venus being in the second house from the moon, it's not necessarily that it's a great time to shop, but that money will come to you. Money is good. Second house is money. Venus is wealth and luxuries, and it's in the second house from the moon. Okay, so this is a good time when I feel like financially things will be on the up and up, even though we have Mercury retrograde. And by the way, Mercury has just opposed Jupiter exactly. And that represents, well, actually it's the next day. It's the 4th, but still the December 3rd, December 4th, we have Mercury retrograde opposing Jupiter. And this brings good things in the way of communications, but because Mercury and Jupiter are both retrograde right now, it represents that we're rehashing things, we're going back, reassessing things, reanalyzing things from the recent past. This could even be something about counting votes with the presidential elections. Even though I don't think it's going to make a big difference, people are going to be talking about counting the votes during this time, because this is a time that Mercury and Jupiter are retrograde, so it deals with review and reassessment, reanalysis, and that goes for you in your personal life. You can really find and discover some things that you've been looking for while Mercury is retrograde opposing Jupiter retrograde. It's actually kind of a nice thing, so use this time to research and reassess things, go back in time and figure out some of the things that you couldn't find before. I promise you, you will find them. Let me tell you something I've discovered about Mercury retrograde. This really is a fact. But if you lose something during the time that Mercury is retrograde, 9 times out of 10, you'll find it or get it back. Okay, so just remember that. But when Mercury is retrograde, we tend to be somewhat more forgetful, and we sometimes lose things because we're not focused. Okay, now let's go to December 5th. No, excuse me, December 4th. I did not cover December 4th. So December 4th, the moon is still in Sagittarius, but it shifted into the nakshatra Uttara Ashada, from Purva to Uttara Ashada. And both the Ashadas deal with truth and fact-finding. Now, with the moon being in Sagittarius in Uttara Ashada, you're going to find that this is a time of really searching, really trying to find things that give you proof of facts that you have been talking about. So it's not really a fact unless you have proof, but you will find the proof during this time. Now, Venus is in Capricorn, second from the moon still. But I'm telling you, by the end of the day, the moon will be in Capricorn. So this is the first part of the day, it's in Sagittarius. The second part of the day, the moon will be in Capricorn. But looking at this is the day that Mercury and Jupiter are exactly opposed. This deals with communications and it deals with travel. It is a great day to get your point across to people, especially when you're rehashing things and trying to bring things from the past and clear things out and pretty much prove your points with people. This is a day of good communications. And yes, even though they're both retrograde, it is a good time to travel. Traveling and going back and figuring things out before. Now, like I said, when Mercury is retrograde, you will have problems traveling. Flights are delayed. There's hiccups with computers. It just delays things and makes it hectic. You're probably wondering, well, why is she telling me to travel? Because once you get to your destination, when Mercury's retrograde, it's time to relax and reflect. That's what Mercury retrograde's for. So if you can put up getting to your destination, once you get there, it is the best time to escape. Let me put it that way. All right, so next day, December 5th. December 5th, I'm talking, people say I don't say the dates, but I know I am. So you're not paying attention if you're not getting the dates. So this day, the moon throughout the entire day is in Capricorn. And while it's in Capricorn, it is opposing the Mars. It is opposing Mars and it's conjunct Pluto. This is an intense day. Emotions are flying high. The moon will have crossed over Venus early part of the day, and that's kind of a nice time for social events. But Moon Pluto, be aware of control and manipulation by others, and you yourself must try to be less controlling during this time. Now, also looking at the fact that Mars opposes the moon, this is a time that you might find people attack you, people are not fair with you, people can fight. And another thing that's going on during this time, actually it was yesterday and today, that Saturn is squaring the sun. So you're going to find some instances of problems with world leaders this day. Things are going to come out of the blue. Things are going to be upsetting on the global field with governments. Because why? Moon being in Capricorn rules the government. So there's like things going on that are brewing, that are being complained about, worked out with government affairs. Now the moon sits in the nakshatra called Shravana, and Shravana is the listener. So you got to listen today. You got to open your ears, because what do I always say? That's when you learn, when you listen. You're not going to learn anything when you're doing all the talking. So listen and hear people through. You will gain great wisdom today. The moon is elevated in a great place in the nakshatra Shravana. Now, it's not the greatest day financially, I will say, with Saturn being in the second house from the moon. So it's not a day to buy, it's not a day to invest. Let me put it that way. And people are a little angry and on edge, because today is the day Mars is stationing, it's not moving, and it's intense. And therefore, Mars being in the sign of Cancer, people are losing it right now. They're angry about things, and it's starting to seep up, and we're feeling the anger more and more, because tomorrow it turns retrograde, but today it is standing still, and it's aspecting the moon. So lay low emotionally. Do not provoke arguments, because they can be knocked down, drag out arguments for that matter. Jupiter is in the fifth house from the moon with Uranus. This is major ups and downs with the stock market and the economy. So be aware, this is an intense, very intense day. Let's look at December 6th. December 6th is another day that this is the day that Mars turns retrograde. And it's retrograde at 11 degrees 57 minutes, so let's just round it off. It's within 3 minutes of being 12 degrees Cancer. If you know your chart and you have any planets 12 degrees Cancer or Capricorn, look out. Today is intense for you. Now, the moon is still in Capricorn, but now it's shifted into the nakshatra called Dhanishta. And Dhanishta denotes wealth, but it is a very, very difficult nakshatra for relationships. So be aware that this is a day that you might become unpinged or unconnected to people. It's not the day for peace or tranquility at all. People are becoming enraged about certain aspects, and this can deal with governmental affairs. Yes, this is really intense. Another thing that's coming upon us in 2 days is Venus will be exactly conjunct Pluto, but it's within a 3-degree range right now. It's almost Venus 5 degrees and Pluto 6 degrees. This deals with betrayals, serious betrayals, so be aware of what's coming up in the world today. And also on the 6th, Mercury is exactly squaring Saturn, and that's a tough one because people do not hear you. People do not listen. And one more thing about the moon being in Dhanishta, it's ruled by Mars, which makes people angrier and more hostile. We're going to find things in the world, and war is starting to really brew seriously. Okay, we're going to talk about December 7th. This is the last day. Then I'm going to talk about the first week of December. Mars is retrograde. The moon has shifted into Aquarius today. It's approaching Saturn, so there is a solemn feeling in the air. People are not very warm or appreciative. People are cold and detached during this day. Saturn with the moon, and Saturn and the moon sit in the nakshatra Shatabhishak. That nakshatra is harsh. It's ruled by Rahu. It is harsh and it is dangerous. And furthermore, because it's ruled by Rahu, be aware of intense circumstances surrounding people that you know. Many people have problems. People are losing their minds because this actually deals with mental disease. So be cautious today who you approach and how you speak to them, because people are on edge and they are not in their right minds. Let me just say that. Mars just turned retrograde. It's an intense, crazy day on the 7th. And here's another thing that I have to tell you. Neptune has turned direct, and Neptune is the planet of deception, deceit, and denial. So there's all sorts of lies and cheating and things circulating in the airways. So Mercury is retrograde till December 15th. And there's so much that's being brought up and processed in this process. So going back to the 7th, when the moon is still with Saturn and it is in Aquarius, this is the day that Neptune stations, and Neptune brings out all of this corruption and people. It's even in the nakshatra Neptune, that is. Neptune is in the nakshatra Purva Bhadrapada, which is a nakshatra that means a man with two faces. So Neptune stationing to turn direct right now brings up a lot of the old lies and corruption from someone that's two-faced. And this is deep, dark stuff because Neptune is a slow-moving planet. It brings up monumental events that are earth-shattering and changing, and that's what I see with Neptune turning direct in this nakshatra. That is pretty earth-shattering. And even in the next few days when the moon crosses over Neptune, that's going to be when there's going to be some revelations come out about secrets that have been kept from the public. But today, on the 7th, we have Venus conjunct Pluto exactly. I've been talking about it getting close to there. Today's the day. And that deals with issues around betrayal. So please be cautious around people you don't trust, because they will throw you under the bus and betray you when you least expect it. So with that, I have concluded the first week of December, and it is chock full of events. So keep your cool, keep your calm, and get ready for the next event. It's always, like usual, one thing after another. So with that, I think I'll close. Remember, if you'd like to learn more about me, go to my website, galacticcenter.org, and sign up for my free newsletter. And don't forget my Patreon page. Become part of a community. And if you want to learn Vedic astrology, I have an online university. You can join anytime. Go to universityofvedicastrology.com. Thank you.